I was just about to buy the first piece of real jewelry I'd ever owned when my sister stormed in, slapped me across the face, and called me a pathetic wannabe. The sting spread across my cheek as gasps echoed through the luxury store. That's when a voice behind me, deep, controlled, and dangerous, said, "Touch my wife again and see what happens." I'd never seen this man before in my life. My name is Rachel Vaughn, and at 32 years old, I'd finally reached a point where I could afford something nice for myself. As a brand design lead at Brightline Creative in Denver, I'd worked my ass off for years to get where I was, but in my family, that meant nothing. Growing up, I learned early that love in the Vaughn household came with conditions I never seemed to meet. While my older sister Vanessa got ballet lessons, private tutors, and a car for her 16th birthday, I was told to be grateful for what you have. What I had was a part-time job at 14, saving every penny for my own school supplies while Vanessa complained about the color of her new iPhone. The disparity wasn't subtle. Family photos from our childhood told the story better than words ever could. Vanessa in designer dresses at her piano recitals, me in hand-me-downs at the back of the audience. Vanessa's graduation party with 100 guests and catered food, mine with a cake from the grocery store and a handful of relatives who left early. Even now, looking at those photos made my chest tight with an anger I'd never been allowed to express. Last month's family dinner had been the final straw. I'd come prepared to share my news, a significant raise and a promotion I'd earned after leading a successful campaign for a major tech client. For once, I had something undeniably impressive to share. So, I'd started waiting for a lull in conversation. "I have some exciting news about work." "Oh my God!" Vanessa had burst out, her voice drowning mine completely. "I can't keep it in any longer. Colin proposed." And just like that, my moment evaporated. The next hour was devoted to examining her ring, hearing about the proposal at some exclusive restaurant, discussing wedding venues. When Mom finally remembered to ask about my news, it was with the distracted air of someone fulfilling an obligation. "That's nice, honey," she'd said, already turning back to Vanessa. "Now, about the wedding colors." Colin Wright, Vanessa's fiancé, was exactly the type of man she'd choose: flashy, arrogant, working in commercial real estate with a lot of talk about big deals that never seemed to materialize into anything concrete. He'd spent most of the dinner talking over me, explaining my own industry to me incorrectly, while my parents hung on his every word. That night, driving home alone to my apartment, I'd made a decision. I was done being the forgotten daughter, the one who never quite measured up. I'd saved carefully over the years, always too practical to splurge on myself, but I deserved something beautiful, something that was mine, something that said I'd made it despite everything. Diamond earrings, real ones, not huge or ostentatious, but elegant, the kind successful women wore to boardrooms and galas, the kind that said you valued yourself enough to invest in quality. It wasn't about competing with Vanessa. It was about finally choosing myself. The morning sun cast rainbows through the crystal chandeliers of Whitmore Jewelers as I pushed open the heavy glass door. I'd dressed carefully for this moment: my best blazer, the silk blouse I'd bought on sale last year, my grandmother's pearl necklace that was the only real jewelry I owned. The cool air inside carried hints of expensive perfume and leather, while soft classical music drifted from hidden speakers. "Wow, welcome to Whitmore," a woman greeted me warmly. Her name tag read Sophia Marquez, and her smile seemed genuine, not the calculating look I'd half expected. "What brings you in today?" "I'm looking for diamond earrings," I said, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. "My first real piece of jewelry. Actually—" Sophia's eyes lit up. "How wonderful first diamonds are always special. Let me show you some pieces that would be perfect for everyday elegance." She led me to a corner where the lighting was softer, more intimate. The cases held treasures that seemed to capture light and transform it into something magical. Sophia began showing me different styles, explaining the cut, clarity, in settings with passion that made me feel like I was making an important decision, not just a purchase. "These," she said, presenting a pair of round solitaires in white gold, "are timeless. The kind of earrings you'll wear for decades and never tire of." I held them up, watching how they caught the light. For the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged in a place like this. I wasn't an imposter or a pretender. I was a successful woman buying herself something beautiful because she'd earned it. "They're perfect," I breathed, already imagining how they'd look with my work presentations, at industry events, at all the places where I'd built my career while my family wasn't watching. "Shall I wrap them for you?" Sophia asked, smiling at my obvious delight. "Yes, The door chimed, and a familiar laugh made my stomach drop. Vanessa swept in like she owned the place, flanked by her two constant companions, Lydia and Samantha. They were all perfectly styled, from their designer handbags to their fresh blowouts, looking like they'd stepped out of a lifestyle blog about wealthy Denver socialites. I turned back to the counter, hoping they wouldn't notice me. Maybe I could complete my purchase and leave without. "Rachel." Vanessa's voice carried across the store, dripping with false surprise. "What are you doing here?" I straightened my shoulders and turned. "Shopping, obviously." She sauntered over, her friends trailing behind like well-dressed shadows. Her eyes zeroed in on the earrings Sophia was about to box up. "Oh, how ambitious," Vanessa said, her tone suggesting I was a child playing dress-up. "This place is a bit pricey. Don't you think there's a lovely costume jewelry store in the mall that has very realistic-looking pieces?" "I'm aware of the prices," I said evenly. "I'm buying these." Vanessa laughed, the sound sharp as broken glass. "Really? On your little designer salary? You know, it's sad when people try to live beyond their means. Especially," she lowered her voice as if sharing a secret, though it was still loud enough for everyone nearby to hear, "when they're obviously trying to compete with their betters." Sophia shifted uncomfortably beside me, while other customers began to take notice of the tension. A man browsing watches nearby glanced our way, frowning. "I'm not competing with anyone," I said, heat rising in my cheeks. "I'm buying myself something nice because I want to—" While right after I announced my engagement, Vanessa's perfectly shaped eyebrow arched. "Please. It's pathetic how transparent you are. You've always been jealous of me, and now you're trying to prove something. The only thing transparent here is your need to make everything about you," I said, my voice shaking with years of suppressed anger. "Not everything in my life revolves around you. Vanessa." She stepped closer, and I could smell her expensive perfume, probably a gift from Colin. "Oh, please. You show up here, trying to buy diamonds right after my engagement. You're fooling no one." Lydia and Samantha tittered behind her, their laughter like nails on glass. Other customers were openly staring now, some pretending to examine jewelry while obviously eavesdropping. Sophia looked like she wanted to intervene, but wasn't sure how. "You know what's really pathetic?" Vanessa continued, her voice rising. "You, playing dress-up in your discount blazer, thinking a pair of earrings will make you something you're not. You're still the same little Rachel who had to work at that grubby diner just to buy notebooks." "At least I worked for what I have," I shot back. I didn't have everything handed to me on a silver platter. Her face flushed. "Handed to me, I earned everything through talent and charm, things you've never had. That's why Mom and Dad invested in me. They knew which daughter was worth it." The words hit like a physical blow, confirming every fear I'd harbored about my place in the family. My hands trembled as I turned to Sophia. "I'll take the earrings. Please ring them up." "Don't you dare turn your back on me," Vanessa snarled. She grabbed my shoulder, spinning me around. "You want to know the truth? Colin and I were laughing about you last night, about how you sat there at dinner, so proud of your little promotion, like it meant something. He said it was cute, like watching a puppy learn a trick." Something inside me snapped. "Colin's opinion means nothing to me, just like yours." You bitter little. Vanessa's face contorted with rage. You've always been jealous, always trying to steal attention, to make yourself seem important. Well, guess what? You're not. You're nobody. A nobody trying to buy respect with Daddy's credit card. Oh, wait, you don't have access to that, do you? The store had gone completely silent. Even the classical music seemed to have faded. Everyone was watching, waiting. I lifted my chin. I'm buying these earrings with my own money. Money I earned through hard work and talent. Something you wouldn't understand since you've never had to work for anything in your life. How dare you? I dare because it's true. Every ballet lesson, every private tutor, every car, every trip, all of it given to you while I was told to be grateful for scraps. But I made something of myself anyway. Without help, without handouts, without... The slap came so fast I didn't see it coming. Vanessa's hand connected with my cheek with a crack that echoed through the store. Pain bloomed across my face, sharp and hot. I stumbled back, my hand flying to my burning cheek. "You pathetic wannabe," she hissed. "Know your place." The silence that followed was deafening. Every person in the store stood frozen, shocked by the sudden violence. Sophia gasped, her hand covering her mouth. Lydia and Samantha looked uncomfortable, taking small steps back from Vanessa. My cheek throbbed, and I could feel tears threatening to spill, not from pain, but from humiliation, from rage, from years of being made to feel small and worthless by the very people who were supposed to love me. And that's when I heard it. Touch my wife again and see what happens. The voice came from behind me, deep and controlled, each word deliberate and laden with threat. I turned, still holding my stinging cheek, to see a man I'd never met before in my life. He was tall, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my car. Dark hair, steel gray eyes that were currently fixed on Vanessa with an intensity that made her take an involuntary step back. Everything about him radiated power, the kind that didn't need to be announced because it was simply understood. What? Vanessa stammered, her earlier bravado evaporating. Who are you? The man moved forward, positioning himself slightly in front of me, a protective gesture that felt both strange and oddly comforting. Ethan Callahan, he said, his voice never rising above conversational level, which somehow made it more menacing. And you just assaulted my wife in front of dozens of witnesses. My mind reeled. Wife, I'd never seen this man before, but something in his stance warned me not to contradict him. Not yet. Vanessa's face had gone pale. Even someone as self-absorbed as her recognized the name. Ethan Callahan, CEO of Stratus Technologies, the tech giant that had revolutionized cloud computing. His face had been on the cover of Forbes just last month. There's been a misunderstanding, Vanessa said, her voice climbing higher. This is my sister. We were just having a family discussion. A family discussion? Ethan's eyebrow arched. Is that what you call physical assault interesting family dynamics? The store manager appeared as if from thin air, wringing his hands. Mr. Callahan, I'm so sorry for this disturbance. Is there anything? Yes, Ethan said crisply. I want security here immediately. This woman. He gestured to Vanessa without looking at her, as if she were beneath his notice. Assaulted a customer. I want her removed and banned from this establishment. That's ridiculous, Vanessa shrieked. You can't, she's not your wife, Rachel. Tell them. I remained silent, still processing what was happening. This stranger, this powerful man, had just claimed me as his wife and was defending me against my sister, the same sister who'd made my life miserable for 3 decades. Ma'am! A security guard had appeared, his hand hovering near his radio. I'm going to need you to come with me. This is insane! Vanessa looked around wildly for support. Lydia and Samantha had somehow melted away, probably updating their Instagram stories from a safe distance. She's nobody. She's just my pathetic little sister trying to— Enough! Ethan's voice cut through her rambling like a blade. He turned to the security guard. I want to file a formal complaint. My wife was assaulted, and I want it documented. The guard nodded, his expression serious. Of course, Mr. Callahan. Ma'am, he said to Vanessa more firmly. You need to leave. Now. You'll regret this, Vanessa hissed at me, mascara starting to run as angry tears formed. Both of you. When I tell Colin, when I tell Mom and Dad— Tell them, Ethan said coldly. Tell them how you assaulted a woman in public because she dared to buy herself something nice. Tell them how you were escorted out by security. I'm sure they'll be very proud. As the guard led Vanessa away, her protests echoing through the store, Ethan finally turned to face me fully. Up close. I could see concern in those gray eyes, a warmth that hadn't been there when he'd faced my sister. Are you all right? He asked quietly. Your cheek is already bruising. I nodded, then found my voice. Why did you— we've never met. A slight smile touched his lips. No, we haven't. But I know a bully when I see one, and I have a particular distaste for people who abuse their power over others. He paused, studying my face. Though I should apologize for the deception. You reminded me of someone my wife. Actually, Clara. Similar height, hair color. For a moment, when I saw her hit you, I reacted on instinct. But you kept up the pretense, I said, still bewildered. Sometimes the best way to stop a bully is to make them realize their target isn't as vulnerable as they thought, he said. Then, more gently, no one should be made to feel small for wanting something beautiful for themselves. The manager hovered nearby, clearly torn between wanting to assist a valuable customer and giving us space. Sophia stood by the counter, still holding the earrings I'd chosen, looking uncertain. Please, Ethan said to me, let me at least buy you a coffee. You've had quite a shock, and there's a quiet cafe just around the corner. I hesitated. This stranger had just saved me from public humiliation, but accepting more felt like crossing a line. I appreciate what you did, but you don't owe me anything. I don't, he agreed, but I'd like to make sure you're okay. And he glanced at the earrings Sophia was still holding. I'd hate for your sister to ruin what should have been a special moment for you. Something in his tone, understanding rather than pitying, made me nod. Okay, let me just— I turned to Sophia. I'll be back for these. Of course, she said warmly. I'll hold them for you, Ms. Vaughn. 15 minutes later, we sat in a corner booth at Merchant's Coffee House, an upscale cafe that managed to be both elegant and comfortable. I held an ice pack procured from the sympathetic barista against my cheek, while Ethan sat across from me with his espresso. So, he said after a moment, your sister seems charming. Despite everything, I laughed. That's one word for her. The ice pack muffled my words slightly. I'm sorry you got dragged into our family drama. Don't apologize. If anyone should be sorry, it's her. He paused, considering, though I get the sense this wasn't an isolated incident. You could say that. I set down the ice pack, meeting his gaze. Can I ask you something? Why did you really intervene? Most people would have just watched or called security. Ethan was quiet for a moment, turning his espresso cup in its saucer. I have a younger brother, he said finally. Growing up, our father always favored me. Better grades, better at sports, more like him. I got the praise, the opportunities, the trust fund. Marcus got compared to me constantly, told he wasn't measuring up. That must have been hard for him. It was, but you know what, he used it as fuel. Started his own company at 22 with nothing but determination and a credit card. Now he runs one of the most innovative, sustainable energy firms in the country. Ethan smiled slightly. He succeeded not because of our family, but in spite of them. Watching your sister, seeing how she tried to diminish you, it reminded me of every family dinner where my father would ask Marcus why he couldn't be more like me. But you didn't participate in it, I pointed out. No, but I benefited from it for years before I understood the damage it was doing. He leaned forward slightly. Tell me about your work. Brand design. Was it? I blinked at the change of subject. Yes, at Brightline Creative. I'm the lead designer for brand strategy. Brightline's done some impressive campaigns. The recent one for TechFlow was yours. My jaw dropped slightly. How did you? Yes, that was my team. It was brilliant, clean, modern, but with enough warmth to make enterprise software feel approachable. Not an easy balance. He pulled out his phone, swiped a few times, and showed me an image. We've been struggling with something similar for our new cloud platform, making high-level tech feel accessible to smaller businesses. I studied the image, my designer brain immediately engaging. Your color palette is too cold. Blues and grays say corporate, but they also say untouchable. You need warmer accent colors, maybe an amber or coral, to bridge that gap. His eyes lit up. Exactly what our current agency hasn't been able to articulate. They keep giving us variations of the same corporate template. He put his phone away. I don't suppose you'd be interested in taking a look at our brief as a consultant. Of course. Paid, naturally. Are you offering me work because you feel sorry for me? I'm offering you work because you just diagnosed in 30 seconds what a team of designers hasn't figured out in 3 months, he said bluntly. The fact that it might also give you something to mention at your next family dinner is just a bonus. I considered this. Can I think about it? Of course. Here's my card. He slid a simple black business card across the table. But Rachel, whatever you decide about the consulting, don't let what happened today stop you from buying those earrings. You've earned them. Actually, I said, surprising myself with my boldness, I think I'll go back and get them now, while the adrenaline is still flowing. Ethan smiled, a genuine expression that transformed his face. Good. Want some company? I promise not to pretend you're my wife this time. Just moral support. Just moral support. Though if any other family members show up. He let the sentence hang, humor glinting in his eyes. My phone had been buzzing incessantly since I got home. 17 missed calls from my mother, 12 from my father, and 43 text messages that ranged from "call me immediately" to "how could you humiliate your sister like this?" I poured myself a glass of wine and stared at the small Whitmore jeweler's box on my coffee table. Inside were my diamond earrings, my victory, my declaration of independence, my proof that I was worth something. But the glow of accomplishment had dimmed under the weight of family fury. The phone rang again. This time, I answered. Rachel Marie Vaughn. My mother's voice could have shattered glass. What is wrong with you? Vanessa is in tears. She says you had her thrown out of a store by security like some common criminal. She slapped me, Mom, in public, in front of everyone. She said you provoked her, that you were showing off, trying to upstage her engagement. I was buying myself a pair of earrings, I interrupted, my grip tightening on the phone. With my own money? How is that showing off? Don't take that tone with me. You know how sensitive Vanessa is right now with all the wedding planning stress. You should have been more considerate. Considerate. I stood up, pacing my small living room. She physically assaulted me. There's probably still a mark on my face. Oh, don't be dramatic. Sisters fight, but involving strangers having her escorted out, that was vindictive. Rachel, we raised you better than that. The irony of that statement almost made me laugh. No, Mom, you raised Vanessa. I raised myself. Silence. Then, in a colder voice, you will apologize to your sister. This Sunday at dinner, we'll put this behind us. No. Excuse me. I said no. I'm not apologizing for being assaulted. I'm not apologizing for standing up for myself. And I'm not coming to Sunday dinner. If you don't come, don't bother coming to any family events, including Vanessa's wedding. The threat hung in the air between us. Once, it would have devastated me. The thought of being excluded, of being officially cast out, would have sent me scrambling to make peace. but something had shifted today. "Okay," I said simply. "Okay, that's all you have to say." Yes, if the price of being part of this family is accepting abuse and always coming second, then it's too high. I'm done. I hung up before she could respond. The next few days were a blur of blocked numbers and ignored emails, but by Thursday, I had to face them, not because I wanted to, but because Vanessa had shown up at my office. "We need to talk," she announced, breezing past our receptionist like she owned the place. I stood up from my desk, grateful for the glass walls of my office that meant witnesses. "You need to leave." "Not until you fix this mess. Colin's family heard about what happened. Do you know how embarrassing this is for me?" "Your behavior is not my responsibility, Vanessa." She stepped closer, but I noticed she kept her hands carefully at her sides. "You think you're so special now because some random rich guy felt sorry for you. I looked him up. You know, Ethan Callahan, married for 5 years. So whatever fantasy you're spinning." "The only one spinning fantasies is you," I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "You've created this narrative where I'm the jealous little sister trying to steal your spotlight. But the truth is, I don't care about your engagement, your wedding, or your life. I just wanted to buy myself something nice. That's it." "Liar, you've always wanted what I have." "Name one thing," I challenged. "One specific thing I've ever tried to take from you." She opened her mouth, then closed it, fury building in her eyes. "That's what I thought." I sat back down, turning to my computer. "Now please leave. Some of us have actual work to do." "This isn't over," she hissed. Mom and Dad will what disown me, cut me off newsflash. Vanessa, they did that years ago. I just finally noticed." She stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the glass. My colleagues pretended not to stare, but I could feel their curiosity. That evening, I pulled out Ethan Callahan's business card and sent an email. Professional, brief, expressing interest in reviewing the Stratos Technologies brief. Within an hour, I had a response not from an assistant, but from him directly. "Glad to hear from you. How's the cheek? And more importantly, how are the earrings?" 2 weeks later, I stood in front of Whitmore Jewelers again, but this time, everything was different. Ethan had arranged for me to preview exclusive pieces for Stratos Technologies' upcoming campaign, a luxury tech accessories line aimed at professional women. He'd insisted I wear the earrings I'd bought, saying they were perfect for understanding their target demographic. "Clara's running late," Ethan said, checking his phone. "Traffic from the airport, but she's excited to meet you. I've told her about your work on our rebranding." I'd been nervous about meeting his wife, wondering if she'd find the whole situation strange, but his casual warmth put me at ease. We were discussing the campaign timeline when I heard a familiar, grating laugh. Through the window, I saw Vanessa approaching with Colin, pointing at something in the display. My stomach dropped. "We can go somewhere else," Ethan offered, following my gaze. "No." I straightened my shoulders. "I'm not running anymore." They entered just as Sophia was bringing out a tray of exclusive pieces for us to review. The store manager himself was attending to us, discussing the partnership between Whitmore and Stratos. Vanessa stopped dead when she saw me. Her eyes widened, taking in the scene, me seated at the VIP viewing area, Ethan beside me, the manager and Sophia treating me like royalty, and the spectacular array of jewelry laid out for my review. "What's she doing here?" Vanessa demanded, marching over. Colin trailed behind, looking uncomfortable. The manager stepped forward smoothly. "I'm sorry, but this is a private viewing. If you'd like to browse, Maria can assist you in the main showroom." "Private viewing." Vanessa's voice climbed. "For her? Ms. Vaughn is consulting on an exclusive campaign for Stratos Technologies," the manager explained with professional calm. "Now, if you'll please." "This is ridiculous." Vanessa turned to Ethan. "Whatever she's told you, whatever lies she's spinning." "The only person who's lied is you," Ethan said coolly. "You told your fiancé's family that Rachel attacked you, didn't you?" Failed to mention the part where you slapped her. Colin shifted uncomfortably. Vanessa, maybe we should. Shut up! Colin! She whirled back to me. You think you're something special now playing dress up with borrowed jewelry. Actually, a new voice interjected, she's selecting pieces she'll be wearing in a national campaign. We all turned to see a striking woman with auburn hair and intelligent hazel eyes. Clara Callahan was exactly as elegant as I'd imagined, but her smile was warm and genuine. You must be the infamous sister, Clara continued, linking her arm through Ethan's. I've heard so much about you, all of it disappointing. I'm afraid. Vanessa's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Clara turned to me, her expression softening. Rachel, I love your earrings. They're perfect with your bone structure. Has Sophia shown you the matching necklace? It would be stunning for the campaign launch gala. Campaign launch gala, I echoed. Didn't Ethan mention all our featured consultants are invited? It's at the Four Seasons next month. Black tie, naturally. I caught the implication featured consultant, not just reviewer. This was bigger than I'd realized. She's not a consultant, Vanessa practically shrieked. She's nobody. She's just a... Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave, the manager said firmly. This is the second disturbance you've caused in our establishment. One more incident and we'll have to permanently ban you from all our locations. All your locations, Colin finally spoke up, his face reddening. Vanessa, you told me this was a misunderstanding. You said nothing about multiple incidents. It is a misunderstanding. Vanessa's carefully styled hair was starting to escape its pins. She's manipulating everyone. Can't you see that? What I see, Colin said slowly, is you having a meltdown in public. Again, my mother was right about you. Your mother, what does she have to do with anything? She said anyone who would assault their own sister out of jealousy wasn't someone she wanted in our family. He took a step back. I defended you. I said it was exaggerated, but here you are, doing it again. Colin, baby, no. But he was already walking away, shaking his head. Vanessa stood frozen, watching her fiancé leave, her perfect world cracking at the edges. I believe you were asked to leave, Clara said pleasantly. Several times, actually. Vanessa turned to me one last time, tears streaming down her face, mascara running in dark rivulets. You've ruined everything. Everything. No, I said quietly, fingering one of my diamond earrings. You did that all by yourself. Security escorted Vanessa out for the second time, but this time she left in ruins, makeup destroyed, engagement imploding, her carefully constructed superiority shattered. As the door closed behind her, I felt something I hadn't expected, not satisfaction, but relief. The weight I'd carried for 32 years was finally lifting. Well, Clara said, settling gracefully into the chair beside me. She seems lovely. Can't imagine why you haven't been close. Despite everything, I laughed. Ethan smiled, and even the manager's professional mask cracked slightly. Now, Clara continued, let's talk about this campaign. I've seen your portfolio Ethan showed me, and your vision is exactly what we need. Someone who understands that success isn't about flashy displays, but about quiet confidence. We spent the next hour reviewing pieces, with Clara and I discovering we had surprisingly similar tastes. She shared stories about building her own PR firm before meeting Ethan, about family members who'd tried to diminish her achievements, about learning to value herself without external validation. The best revenge, she said, holding a stunning pendant up to the light, isn't making them suffer. It's making yourself happy. They suffer enough watching that. As we prepared to leave, Sophia approached with a velvet box. Ms. Vaughn, Mr. Callahan arranged for these as a welcome gift for joining the Stratos team. Inside were the matching necklace and bracelet to my earrings. I looked at Ethan in shock. Consider it a signing bonus, he said. And Clara's right, they'll be perfect for the gala. I can't. You can, Clara interrupted. You've been accepting less than you deserve for too long. It's time to stop. 3 weeks later, at the campaign launch, I stood on the terrace of the Four Seasons, Denver's skyline glittering behind me. The diamonds at my ears, throat, and wrist caught the light as photographers captured the moment. My campaign was being unveiled to media outlets across the country. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Saw your picture in the Denver Post. Your father and I are proud of you. Too little. Too late. I archived the message without responding. Rachel Clara called out, waving me over to where she stood with a group of investors. Come meet everyone. This is the brilliant mind behind our new visual identity. As I moved through the crowd, comfortable in my skin and my success, I caught sight of a familiar figure by the bar, Vanessa, wearing a server's uniform, carrying a tray of champagne. Our eyes met across the room. I saw the flash of recognition, the widening of her eyes as she took in my designer dress, the jewelry, the way people naturally gravitated toward me. She started to approach, but her supervisor called her back to the kitchen. Ethan appeared at my elbow. You okay? More than okay, I said, meaning it. You know what the best part is? I'm not here to spite her. I'm here because I earned it. The best revenge, he agreed, is a life well lived. As Vanessa disappeared into the service area, I turned back to my future bright, successful, and entirely my own. She could serve drinks at the party celebrating my success. I had bigger things to focus on. The woman who'd once made me feel worthless was now watching from the sidelines as I claimed my place in a world she'd insisted I didn't belong in. But I wasn't thinking about her anymore. I was thinking about the next campaign, the next challenge, the next victory. Ladies and gentlemen, the CEO of Whitmore Jewelers announced, raising his glass. To Rachel Vaughn and the future of luxury marketing. As glasses raised around me and applause filled the air, I touched my diamond earrings, the ones I'd bought myself, the ones that started it all. They weren't just jewelry anymore. They were a reminder that I'd always been valuable. I just had to believe it myself first. Sometimes the best revenge isn't loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's simply refusing to be small anymore, stepping into the light you've earned, and never looking back at the shadows where they tried to keep you. And if they happen to be serving champagne while you're drinking it, well, that's just life serving its own kind of justice. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. If you enjoyed this tale of family drama and sweet revenge, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. Have you ever had to stand up to a toxic family member? I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments.